That's not funny. Oh, you know what I need to do? First, I need to go here and accept that we're doing this. Oh, what's happening? What is happening? Facebook. I'm gonna set this guy feels like it's gonna fall off, eh? Everything is slow.
It's only gonna fall off once.
Everything is slow. The internet is slow. Yeah, well, I feel like it's gonna fall. It's so hard. I'm trying to see if we're on. I don't know if we're on. Or people, are we on? Oh, we're on. Hey, Nat. I just want to see. Why is this not showing on my... Gosh, it's so hard. It is Wednesday night and we don't even have wine. What is up with this? Okay. Okay, so I don't know if it's on. But anyways, I got to get on Instagram. Hello, Facebook. Jump on. Say hey. Tell us where you're from.
Hello.
We are going to say hello to Instagram. See, checking connection. Yeah, this is Facebook. This is Instagram. This one says we're live now. Hello, Instagram.
A bit crooked on that one, eh?
You look crooked?
Well, we both do.
I'm not even in this one, Mark.
Hang on.
Hey, we gotta fix the setup.
Let me straighten this guy out first, and then even this one's a bit crooked, and then we'll turn this.
Okay, and I'm just gonna put a pin here. I'm gonna say, "Come hang out."
That's too much.
Hello, everybody jumping on Facebook. Say hey, write your name, tell us where you're from. If you watch this on the replay, type replay. We'll still come back and say hey. Come hang out. Come hang with us. How do I pin this? Post. I don't know how to pin things. If anybody knows how to do that, is there a way to pin that, Mark? I don't know. There we go. I pinned it. I just did it.
What does
See,
it
I
mean to
pinned
pin?
it. It means that anybody that shows up on Instagram is going to see the pin post. So sweet. All right. So hello. This is
Mark.
Hello. And I'm Crystal from Feed That Glow. Trying to get him to start his own YouTube channel. So we can't tell you what his name will be, but it's Mark.
Hello.
So we are here to do Q&A. We called it Show Up for the Messy. Ask us all the questions. We may or may not answer. Hello, Instagram. Same thing, Facebook, Instagram, right? Hey, where you're from, and we will come and say hey to you. If you have questions in the comments, go for it. So we are going to just get into it and talk about it. Yeah, talk about the questions. And if you guys have extra questions, write them down. And if we have an answer, we'll tell you. And if we don't have no answer, we tell you that too, because we don't pretend. YouTube, you're cooking. I know. We're working on that, eh?
You're on my cooking, yeah.
We're working on getting him to have his own cooking show. Alrighty, so the first question that we got was, what is the most important thing to make a relationship last? So back end story, how long have we been together? Since 1998. Has it been always rosy? Okay, so what would you say is, well, they wrote, what's the most important thing to make a relationship last?
What is it for you?
Oh, you're putting it back onto me.
Tell us how it is for you. Tell us how it is for you, and then I'll be able to.
You're throwing me under the bus. I tried to throw you under the bus. Okay, first of all, I don't honestly know if it's just one thing to make a relationship last, like to make it the most important thing to make a relationship last. And again, we're not experts. We're just sharing experiences, okay? So for me, what I find is most important, obviously, is communication. So I think communication, I think being able to be brutally honest with each other. Yeah. Spending time together. Now his answer is probably going to be better.
No. No. It's all encompassing of what you were about to say.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, you should say what you told me yesterday.
Yeah, well, we can get to there.
Get to there.
But for me, it was putting into practice honesty live. So it's not just a concept that you're honest with your spouse about how you feel. You're honest with your spouse about what you think of her, and if you're honest with yourself, you shouldn't be afraid to communicate that to your spouse. So you should be able to communicate to your spouse in an honest way what you think of your spouse. If you don't feel comfortable doing that, then you're not being honest with yourself.
True.
Simple as that.
True story.
So how can you, because if you're afraid to communicate to your spouse your true feelings towards your spouse, if there's an underlying fear behind that, guaranteed that's structure for failure. Yeah. Like you cannot be afraid. There's a thing that happens. Men are like, oh, I'll have to talk to the Ministry of Finances before buying this, doing this purchase, or I don't know what my wife is going to think about it. I don't know what my husband would think. If you're asking yourself those questions, you need to have a conversation with your spouse and then find out what the real answer is. Because otherwise you're assuming. Or you're doing a fear-based thing and you're never finding out what the real answer could be.
That is so deep, and I really like that. Because the thing about relationships is that we get to a point where if we're always predicting the outcome, right, then you're really doing a huge disservice to the relationship as a whole. Like, it's a lie. If you are afraid to speak your truth because you are assuming what the other person is going to say, I mean, how is it ever going to grow, right? So I really like that. That's deep. Yeah, you have to be willing to speak your truth. And if you don't, that means you're lying. You're lying by omission. And why do you think we lie? Well, we lie not because we're trying to protect the other person. It's because we're trying to protect ourselves from dealing with the other person's emotional state. Whereas if you come to a place where you're like, listen, I have to share something with you and it's really, really hard for me right now. Can we talk? Then yeah. Honestly, it's about having that communication. And I think we've gotten pretty good at that. Like, we had a few rough patches, right?
But at least we're aware of what needs to be done, kind of thing. Like, we're more aware of the path that a positive relationship is, or how, like, if we see ourselves together long term, we want to be, we see ourselves established in a certain kind of universe thing. We want to be able to be, we want to be able to be honest, we want to love each other, we want to respect each other, want to grow old together. We have a lot of these basic white picket fence foundations that we tend to attach ourselves to. But if we're going to be real about all of this, you have to be able to
speak your truth.
That's right. That has to be your best friend.
Yeah.
On so many levels. So the person you're with has to be your best friend. If the person you're with is not your best friend, then ask yourself, why is your best friend and not your spouse? My opinion.
That is deep, boy. I love it.
That's just what I come up with.
Yep.
That's what I came up with in my life. Like, that for me, that was one lesson that I knew was true to me, what applied for me, and I said everybody that I know could benefit from thinking that way about their spouse.
Yeah. So relationships are hard. They're not meant to be easy. I think that there's this notion where we should be in love, like that Hollywood love. That's a lie. Like, at the beginning, it's going to be like that. But we've been together since '98, and we've had all of the things happen, right? We've been through cancer. We've been through a sick child. We've been through mental health issues. We've been through, like, trust issues. We've been through all the things. So if we can't come out it together, it's not us fighting each other. We have to be on the same team. So I think communication and understanding that you need to be real and you need to be raw. So I hope that answered the question of what's the most important thing to make a relationship last. Okay. This next question was, how do you repair a relationship? So we got that question after our last video. How do you repair a relationship? Okay, so as I just said, yes, couples, we're gonna do this, right? You're gonna be, it's hills and valleys, right? It's not gonna be easy. How do you repair a relationship? Well, again, based off of what we just spoke about, being true to yourself, speaking your truth, I think we did counseling. So we did marriage counseling for close to a year. Then we did individual counseling.
I think the nature of the repair will lie in what the original problem, like what you consider the problem
To be, yeah.
So
Yeah.
if trust is the issue, or respect is the issue, or love is the issue, or interest is the issue. If interest is the issue, if it dwindles down to just not being interested in your spouse, then if you want to make the decision to stay together, you've got two choices. You can stay together uninterested in your spouse, or do something about it and stay together and find out why and what can you do to be interested in your spouse. That means spend time with them, have discussions about different things, find what your purposely sit down and write down some interests. And we found that we don't have a whole lot of stuff in common. Like, we don't have a whole lot of stuff in common. That's another white picket fence mystery. To me, having 100% things in common with your spouse, I don't believe that that's actually beneficial. First of all, it's nice to have things in common. I see a lot of couples, they go hunting together or camping together. They look like it's awesome. I don't have that with my wife, not to those levels. I am not jealous of it. I have a different relationship with my wife, and I try to find some kind of activity with her as much as I can to duplicate that, because sharing some natural walk somewhere with your best friend, that's supposed to be good. It doesn't matter where you are. If you spend a couple hours doing something and you find it amusing or interesting, or you learn about each other, that's what having a best friend is all about. If you can get to those levels, now you're laughing. But if you're at the other extreme of things, where you feel like you're lacking certain emotional ties with your what's supposed to be best friend.
That could also be, though, because the question was about like how to repair relationships. So if you feel like you're lacking, that means something needs to be fixed, right? I think a lot of us grew up with the notion that we don't talk about feelings. We don't talk about feelings. We don't talk about all of that. We just sweep it under the rug and pretend it never was there. So, and as a coach who coaches women, I do have clients that share things like that with me. Well, I can't tell my husband that, or I can't tell my boyfriend that. Why? Like, I think that we need to get over this fear, and we need to choose love. And by coming at it from a stance of, I'm doing this because I want this to work. So for me, how do you repair a relationship? And I mean, we were there, right? We were broken. We were at a point where we were like, what do we do, right? We chose to be vulnerable. We chose honesty. We chose to be brave, right? Speaking your truth is effing brave, right?
It's the hardest thing you'll ever do.
Hardest. We chose to navigate the feels, right? That is hard. Sitting here and allowing your other, for me to sit and listen to him speak his truth, that doesn't mean it's going to be my truth, but I'm a human, right? I'm going to have a human experience. So there's going to be feels. I need to be brave enough to stay in the conversation, right? So often when somebody speaks their truth, the first thing that we feel is attack, right? We'll feel attacked and we close off and we leave the conversation. How is that going to fix anything? So we have to keep coming back to the conversation of, where are we going to be together, right? Where do we see each other together? Where are we going? It's what's the intent? What is your intent? Do you want to be together? Or are you going to keep fighting the past and doing well, you did this, well, you did this, well, you do. That doesn't solve anybody. Scorekeeping is poison in any relationship, right? That's going to lead to resentment and jealousy and all those negative things. So for us, to repair a relationship, it's like get down to the core, like human heart to human heart, right? And be brave and stay in the conversation, stay committed to the conversation. We had to come back to the table often because it was hard to feel the feels, right?
We got two tables.
We got two tables.
Table
So for us, like for me, that's what it was. And like figuring out like, where do we want to be? Like, where do we want to be? So, okay, so what? Like, this is our rock bottom. And now what? Now what? Right? I think everybody is going to go through that. And I mean, I don't know. Tell me if you believe this is true, Marc, but I think that pain is meant to transform us into growth. But so often people run because it burns and it doesn't feel good.
That's what I was out when yesterday, one of the things we spoke of.
Oh, yes, that was deep.
Was choices.
Yes.
So,
ooh, I like
so this. It was this deep discussion about choices, but it's really simple. From the day you're born, you start making choices. You have influences that will help you guide where your choices are going to end up. But at the end of the day, you're in control of every choice you make.
Choose.
Every choice you make. The baby from birth will scream or yell from a choice he made.
Because he's hungry.
Because whatever the reason, made a choice. So we do that throughout our whole lives. So when we make a choice about if we are generally sad in the day, or it takes us a lot to make us smile, that's a choice we gave ourselves. Well, somebody could say, well, I'm in pain. I've got my left leg that's been in pain for months and months, and I'm taking pills, and it makes me miserable. You're still choosing out of the pain to live your life as somebody who's in pain. You can still expose yourself to positive thoughts that will make you a more positive person. But that's all part of all your choices you do. You can spend your life making and if you make the wrong choice, how you feel about that wrong choice is also determining another choice, is how you feel about making the wrong decision. Sometimes you'll make a wrong decision because you cannot predict what that is. We use our youth, we use our peers, we use our mentors to help us make decisions, but at the end of the day, it's your choice. If you feel like you've made a wrong decision because you made a choice, you can choose to stop making choices out of fear of making the wrong decisions, and that's what's going to make you sad. That's what's going to make you sad. You can't live that way where you're afraid to make a wrong decision based on a choice that you felt like you had to do.
Yeah. Because I mean, wrong decisions, honestly, are there really wrong decisions? I think it's all life experiences, and you can just pivot. You can decide one moment, this is what I want,
you can choose to
and
learn
then choose to be like, I don't want this no
decisions.
more, and I'm going to pivot and do something different.
You can use your decisions that don't turn out the way you thought.
They're all
make
lessons.
your choice.
Yeah.
It was a wrong decision. Now there's a consequence, whatever it is. You can choose to internalize that wrong decision and say, I'm a bad person, I made the wrong choice, I made a wrong decision. Or you can say, what can I learn from here to help my education on my next choice a better experience?
Yeah.
That's what you're supposed to do.
Higher level living. That's the way we call it. Like there's like the base way of thinking, and then there's just doing higher level stuff, really challenging
how you feel about
the
yourself
notions.
is a big thing.
Understanding you're in charge, right? Nobody's making you. So if ever you feel like life is happening, you need to just take a breath and be like, all this stuff is happening for me. So with that, where do I have control? A lot of times we think we have control from external things. We don't. I don't have control over him. He doesn't have control over me. What do I have control over? My voice, my heart, my thoughts, how I choose to show up in my life, in our relationship, in our world, right? I can't influence him to do anything.
Nor should you.
No. Well, yeah. So, yeah, that was deep. I like that. I like the choice thing. It's true. You just need to be intentional and be like, and that can go with any relationship. So this doesn't just have to be with like a marriage, that's generally
for us,
right?
That's my perception of how things work out for me.
Yeah.
Was realizations I've made for myself. I was hearing it. I was hearing her.
Yeah.
She was screaming this stuff at me, screaming it, and I was like,
I don't want to hear. You only hear what you're ready to hear, right? And you only know what you only know. And
one day it just clicked in my head. I was like, what I've been doing, whatever the situation wasn't working out for me, and I had all the proof in the world that was screaming at me that it wasn't working out for me, and I still chose not to listen to that.
Yeah.
And this one telling me what I should be doing to revolutionize what I've been doing, and I still wasn't listening to that. Like it took all of that for me to realize, wow, I can choose to not do what I've been doing. I can choose to start doing what she's telling me, and stop being afraid of trying something new. Stop being afraid of change. Stop being afraid of failure. Just stop naturally being afraid of trying something that, God forbid, she knows something more than I do, and whatever my reasons were, right? And then all of a sudden, stuff started to change for me. It was like, I just had to. I had to think different from my. I had to start thinking different of myself to be different for myself.
There's always lessons to learn in the resistance. So if you find yourself resisting change or resisting trying whatever, I would sit in that pit with it, because you can revolutionize like your whole way of thinking by being like, okay, why am I resisting? Why is this my go-to? Why is this my cop-out, if you want? So yeah, that was deep. So I hope we answered that question. Okay. The next question I have, and then I see that there's questions, so we'll come back and ask. So if there are questions, write, and we will answer to the best of our ability. Okay, so this one, somebody messaged me and said, you wrote something the other day about inner struggles and how I put a post on I think it was my personal page, how we don't know what other battles people are fighting, and it was all in regards to mental health. So this person's asking me, how do you think we can work towards removing the stigma? Here is how we're going to remove the stigma for mental health. We got to talk about this shit, okay? Why do we know all the actors, all the family and friends that have cancer, or, lost their jobs? Or why do we know all these things about all other people, but we can't talk about mental health? Why? Right? And as parents who have a child who suffered with mental health, and yes, we didn't talk a lot about it, and this is why, the stupid stigma. I can't come out and tell you which boy that was struggling, but as parents, we went through hell, right? Always wondering, like, is he okay? Is he not okay? Yes, there was medical stuff happening, all the things, but I can't reach out to anybody because of stigma, because I don't want a label placed on my son after, because I don't want people saying, well, he comes from a good family, right? It's all of this language that we use and we choose to block out. So if we're going to talk about cancer, we're going to talk about all these other issues happening, why can't we talk about mental health? Why? What is so wrong with that? Mental health is huge. It affects everybody. Everybody. We don't have any ideas what struggles somebody is going through. We have none. So I think the way to remove the stigma is to be brave and to talk about it.
Are you saying that everybody, mental health affects everybody? Would it be because everybody has a brain?
Right. We are all spiritual beings having a human experience. That's what it is. We get caught up sometimes in our heads and we can't get out. And it's not about telling somebody that's depressed, hurry up and get better. Why don't you feel happy? What is wrong with you? Look at your life. Look how easy you have it. Just do this. It's not about that. It's about really coming at a place of compassion and understanding, like, whoa, right? Because the brain is such a complex thing. It is so beautiful, but it can destroy a life in an instant. Right? So I think that the more we could talk about these things, the easier it would be for everybody else. In our house, we would just legit talk about it. So do you feel like killing yourself today? That was the conversation. I went through a training called Safe Talk, and I would recommend anybody should take this training, 13 and up, because it's about how to have the language around suicide and mental health. And I was really happy that I had that, because prior to that, I don't think I would have been as open about asking my boy if he wanted to die today, right? Have you thought about it? What are your methods? Like, I wouldn't have used that language. Why? Because I was coming from another fear base of I don't want to give him ideas. Just like, when we talk about sex ed with our kids, right? There was a time in history where we wouldn't talk about sex with our kids. Why? Because we thought we would give them ideas. Why don't we educate our children, right? Why don't we educate everybody, society as a whole? So if I'm not feeling good, I'm going to tell you, I'm not feeling good. I think all employees should be encouraged to take mental health days if they are feeling like they need to reframe and recharge. I do it. We get sick days off at work. I will call in and say, I'm not having a good day. Why? Because I'm a service provider, and if I'm not feeling good up here, I can't serve the families that I'm supposed to be serving. So I don't have any shame of saying, I'm not feeling so good right now. I'm gonna take this one out, right? I don't have to tell you why. I'm just gonna say, I'm not feeling it right now. I think we need to be encouraged to take those mental health days. I think we need more education around this. I think anybody who hasn't taken Safe Talk, it was through the health unit. It was a free training. You could check it out online. It's all about having that language around mental health. Being aware that people who are suffering, they are letting us know. They're just not using language. Why aren't they using the language that we are ready to understand? Because we're afraid. And they know we're afraid, and they don't want us to be afraid. They don't want to give us extra burdens, but they're giving us other signals, right? You're going to feel something's off, but a lot of times we're too afraid to go and ask that person, listen, right? We're afraid we're going to make them upset. We're going to, listen, man, if you can save a life, do it. Deal with the consequence.
The theme of fear is coming back to life again.
Fear helps no one. Fear helps no one. Fear-based. Choose love, right? And listen, man, if you lose a friendship or whatever because you were afraid, because you were brave enough to ask that person how they were doing, everything has a consequence, whatever, right? I mean, and I'm not just saying dismiss friendships. That's not what at all I'm saying. But understand that this issue is so huge and it impacts everybody. And as parents who just went through living hell, I wouldn't want to see anybody else go through that. We need to talk about it. Mm-hmm. We just really need to. Hey, Shelby, we need to talk about this stuff. So yeah, again, because of stigma, I'm not going to go into details and say which kid and all that stuff. It's nobody's business. But I would have loved to have like a support group just for that. And here's the funny thing. I do have a support group that I host in the communities that I service. And I still couldn't talk about it. Why? For fear, right? I don't want to traumatize somebody. I don't want to, I don't know, like I felt like I couldn't take up space. And that is sad. So, and that's coming from a parent's point of view. So can you imagine the person who's living?
And you were like kind of a leader in the very circle that you needed to be part of.
Yeah, and it was not easy.
And nope. You could have easily participated, but out of fear of what you were saying.
Just because, right?
It kept you from benefiting.
And like everybody's struggles. Like last year when we were going through our crap, there were days I couldn't get out of bed. Right? That's mental health. I had to yell at myself, get up and put mascara on. Why? Because then if I look put together on the outside, I'll kind of maybe feel put together. Like, you know, it's like a struggle. And I'm so happy I had Marc to be like, yo, we're doing this. We're doing this. We're doing this. And I had really close friends. But I understand that not everybody has that. So we need to, as a collective, do it for everybody. If you see somebody, look them in the eye. We don't do that anymore. We're so on our phones. We're not even paying attention anymore.
We're supposed to be
we're
the
social
human race is
beings
supposed to live in some form of a tribe. We're supposed to have, you know, old people take care of the younger people, the middle-aged people. They protect everybody and feed everybody. That's where all this is supposed to be. So anything that deviates out of that circle, we'll be missing out on. But having a community to be able to talk to about things like mental health, then that's more that tribal method of dealing with issues before they become. It makes you think like you're not alone. It makes you feel like you're part of a tribe again to solve this particular issue, and that's something that needs to come back.
Yeah, we need to talk. We need to look at each other in the eye. We need to high-five each other, give a handshake. I mean, a lot of times we won't do these things because they're strangers or we don't know them. Or listen, man, like we're all human hearts, right? We need connection. We are driven for connection. The worst thing for anybody is to feel like they do not belong, right? And I mean, I know what it's like to have friends just kick you out of their life. It's done. I know what it's like to have put your self-worth into relationships or careers and everything just goes. I understand that. But if you don't have anybody around and you feel like you don't belong, that is the worst kind of rejection ever. So I think as a duty of all of us, we need to be like paying attention. I talk to people all the time, not because I'm fake, because I'm genuinely curious. I want them to know. I want them to know, man, if you said hey to somebody, your hey could probably save their lives. Do you realize that impact? Right? Or if you just said, and I'm not just talking about like bland stuff like how's the weather. No, like get into a conversation. Talk about something. Make it legit. Make it real. I bet you that you have no idea the impact you have on somebody. None. So anyways, I was all revved up here. Sorry, I'm like mental health. Yeah, it's like, man, and it was hard, right? Like, and that feeling of the other shoe dropping all the time, right? Oh, here's a real life phone right now happening, and we can't answer. So it's your mom, babe. Okay. So, okay, let's see. This is funny. If people don't know what that sound is, that is a phone because we are not used to phones right now. Oh, okay, but now you're going to say hi to your mom. Hello. Okay, call her back. Okay, so next question.
On est en train de faire un Facebook Live. Tu veux-tu rappeler dans comme 15 minutes? Elle dit réponds pas le téléphone quand tu fais un Facebook Live.
Oui, mais ça sonnait.
Tu devrais écouter ça, Facebook Live.
Allô, Rita.
Okay, on va te parler plus tard.
Okay, cool.
Okay, love you, bye.
Okay, so we got a question here. Okay, so we got a question. Let's see. Okay, Sabrina. Yeah, I love you, Sabrina. Okay, she's asking, let's talk about sex, baby. A lot of people lose sexual chemistry after years of being together. How do you guys keep that part of your relationship alive? Okay, listen, here is something big that has kind of changed my mindset about sex because I get it. Women, if you are here, give me like your best emoji in the comments because we run all the time. We're wearing all the hats, doing all the things, having to do all these things that at nighttime, when it's time to get the sessy on, you're not feeling it. So if you believe me where you're going, give me your best comments, your best emoji in the comments, okay? So the thing about this is oftentimes, again, it's worse in our heads. Okay, we tell ourselves, oh, I didn't shave my legs, I gotta do this, we make it worse in our heads, and instead of just like going and being in the moment. Time. It's gonna take too much. That is my go-to. It's gonna take too much time. I'm tired. I get up at 5 in the morning.
I'm looking at my watch.
Can't we just do like a nooner, right? My kids aren't home anymore, and lunchtime, you're here, I'm here. We got I get it, but listen. Let's talk about being in the moment. Again, people say they don't have time. Listen, time doesn't exist. It's about priorities. Yeah. So, and the reason I'm talking straight up is because I just did a whole time audit with my 168 hours I get in a week to figure out how I wear all my hats. Oh my goodness. Yeah, I think that's my mom. Now it's my mom. This is great.
Hey.
Mom, we're on Facebook Live. We'll call you back.
Girl, we're doing a Facebook Live. We'll call you back.
The mom's called today. This is great.
Yeah, you're on Facebook.
Yeah,
Live
so
now.
you're on Facebook. Hi, Mom.
And just before
everybody
you
say
called,
hi to my mom. That's great.
I did the same thing to hers.
Everybody say hi to Joanne and hi to Rita. Okay, so
we'll
listen.
talk to you later.
What was I saying? We make it worse in our heads. So we make it worse in our heads. I think that's what I was saying. I got distracted. And instead of just being in the moment, so time audits. So I did a time audit. I took my 168 hours a week. I subtracted the amount of hours I actually need for sleeping in my week. I subtracted my day job's hours that I use. Then I subtracted my workouts, and then I subtracted then I was left with a chunk of time, and I was like, I didn't realize I had all this time, right? And the reason I did my time audit is to figure out how I can be more efficient in my online business and be more present with my family. Where is it? Priorities. You know, maybe a little bit less Netflix and more chillin'. Like, it's about just doing it. Now, I understand sexual chemistry. What do you say to that? What do you say to, like,
sexual chemistry?
It's got to be interesting. You got to spice it up.
Oh man, I've never felt like
you've never felt
that
bored?
was really affected on my side of it.
Oh my god, that's
Not
awesome.
really.
That's
Not that.
No, just kidding.
Not that particular issue. No.
No, you gotta spice it up. You gotta be in the moment. You gotta just do things. It can't just be like bland, boring, right? Don't just eat your food like bland and boring. Put some spices. You taught me that.
Yes.
So get dressed up.
And
Play some sexy music. You know, flirt with each other.
Ideas, yeah, we're full of them. Yeah.
Yeah, we're full. We should write a book.
If you want ideas, we'll give you ideas. But
Marc will
the
write a
question
book.
was what?
Was about like years, because we've been together since 98, so that's a long time. That's gonna be 20 years. That's been 20 years.
Yeah.
So yeah, chemistry. And I think again, it's in waves, right? So for us, like when I was in like baby years, no man, don't you dare touch me. Like my head would spin, right? Or it'd be like, you have 5 minutes. And if you wake up the baby, I'm gonna beat you. Like, right? So it goes in seasons. Now our boys are older. We can be more playful and like spontaneous. It's cool. Date nights are important. So again, time auditing, right? So in your time audit, and this used to tick you off because you didn't like being penciled in, but now we see the value.
I had some real issues with that. I just wanted more spontaneous, or I wanted more. Like I had my own concept of how things should be, and she was really busy with the things she was doing.
Busy.
Everything's penciled in,
Productive.
everything. But then I was like taking it personally that I was also being penciled in. When I mean, listen, I'm either going to have her not do what she wants to do with her life, which is not the behavior of a best friend, or accept who she is and accept what she's able to give me.
Yeah.
And that for me was a big realization where it started to put things in perspective, like being being interested sexually, whatever physical attraction, that whole libido thing. Again, there's a white picket fence phenomenon happening around that. We're supposed to perform, we're supposed to do often, we're supposed to more often, and more performance is not necessarily better when it's out of a context where it's keeping you from doing what you want to be doing. Like if it's priorities, again, what Crystal was explaining, like you have to like kind of put things on scales where you'll prioritize, and you both, because you're best friends, it's easy to do that.
Make it important.
That's why being best friends is important. That's why working on being a best friend is important. If you don't have that relationship, as soon as you have your partner as a best friend, so many things clear up in the smoke. So many things. But to get to that point, that's where we struggle. That's where we believe we need to have these millions of things in common. We have to be able to spend all of our time together.
Which is false.
No, we are two different people. We are male and female, different interests.
Different
if
energies.
there's anything, this is male and female relationships. This is what we're talking about. I can't speak for male or female.
Yeah.
We just know what we know. What we know is we are two different people. We're two different. We're male and female. So right off the bat, we have so many things that are not the same. So many things that are not the same. How are we expected to believe that we're supposed to be all encompassing in everything we like? We're two individuals, and we're male and female. The odds are stacked against us right off the bat, and we decide to be married. That's one way to look at it. You learn a lot of things that on the why you want to stay together. You learn a lot of things. You find a new kind of happy. That's what it is. Once you establish that, this other stuff is background noise. Everything else is background noise. It's easily negotiable. It's easily acceptable. You can communicate your feelings honestly. Boundaries, priorities. These things, they all come into play very easily once that that relationship has been established.
Yeah. And I just want to speak to the whole, like, penciling it in. Like, it's the same thing like a budget. People think budgets are, like, stealing from me. It's not. No, those things, like having a schedule, like, and knowing what you're doing with your time and having, like, a budget, these are showing you where your priorities are, and it actually gives you more freedom.
It builds a blueprint of where your priorities are.
A schedule for me gives me time freedom. Yeah. A budget for me gives me financial freedom. So it's about switching that language around it, switching the mindset and being like, okay. And yeah, just, I think just trying to be more in the moment and not listening to that whole Hollywood crap. Like, right, it's not going to be always sweep you off your feet. Like, sure, it was like that in the first few years. Then we had kids, and then life happened, and then, like, all the pressures of life happened, and it's what you choose to do. So instead of, and another thing, right, instead of saying, like, I should do this or I should do that, take that pressure off. Choose peace. Choose, right? What are you choosing to do? What are you willing to do? What do you want to do? Don't force yourself into it. So I would say just spice it up. Okay, let's see what else we got here. I think Nat's tired. Yes, all the women here. Okay. Hey, everybody. Okay, so I don't know if there's any other questions, but yeah, we just wanted to hang out tonight with you and be like, send us your questions. We'll answer them. I think we've been on for like an hour though, close to. So yeah, so I guess that's all we've got. Hope we didn't like school you too much, but we did have good resources we could share for couple stuff. We like I said, we did our own counseling, and when it came to the relationship repair, it was also like repairing on like a sexual level, right? Repairing like skin to skin, being intimate, all of these things. Like in a relationship, for it to really thrive, you need that human connection. And the thing is if you're not giving it, then you're both lacking. It's like a disservice to the relationship as a whole. So I'm not saying like, ladies, please your men. That's not at all what I'm saying. I'm just saying for the betterment of your relationship, men give sex for love and women give love for sex. Is that how it is?
No. Yes.
Yeah, I think that's how it is. So we're already speaking two different love languages.
Not just for, but that's how we demonstrate. It's
how we demonstrate it. So men demonstrate
love with sex, and women.
We demonstrate love.
They use.
Did I mess it up? I think I messed that up.
No, you didn't mess up the guy. I know what the guy wants. You're supposed to know what the girl wants.
Let's see. It's just trying, yeah. So anyways, it's understanding the two different languages. It's understanding also the 5 love languages. We did that test. So there's like a free quiz. There's the book, just to see what your love language is, because you could be speaking 2 different languages and not even understand each other. Yeah. And then, you know, if you're always coming into the relationship, taking everything personally and assuming, like, those go against like the 4 Agreements. That's a really good book. I think anybody should read the 4 Agreements. Never assume and never take anything personal. If you're feeling an attack, just remind yourself, like, you're a spiritual being having a human experience. So this is your time to speak your truth. You know, like yesterday I had a massive freak out and Marc had to just tell me, like, listen, right? Put things back into perspective, because perspective is always your power. So feel the feels, navigate them together, and do it from a place that you're choosing. I'm not sure if anybody is, I think somebody else wrote a question, just a sec. Sorry, let me go see. My mom. Sex, mom's listening. Hey mom, yes, we talked a little bit about sex. About how to what was it, spice it up after all the years? Anyways, so this is all we have for tonight, because I think we got to call our moms back. Yeah. So we're going to call our moms back. If you watch this video on the replay, type replay, and we will come back and say hey, and we'll be back and do another Q&A. So just send us your questions and we'll just put them in the backlog. Yeah. Or whatever. Yeah.
The backlog.
Whatever. put it in the bank, the
bank.
question bank. I don't know, whatever. But no matter what, you are always worthy. You matter. Just know that. It's not you. You're not. My message for Feedback Glow is always the same. Your worth comes from you inside. It doesn't come from a relationship or a career or social economical status or whatever. Your relationship with yourself is most important. So you matter, and when you understand that you matter, then everything in your life changes.
You're number one.
Yeah.
You have to be, so priorities, you have to put yourself number one.
Yeah.
It is not selfish to put yourself number
Ooh.
one. If you are not number one, you cannot understand what being number one means. You need to understand what being number one means so you can understand where number two is supposed to be.
Yeah.
Because number two is your best friend.
Yeah.
That's the best advice you'll ever hear from anybody ever.
Yeah.
You put yourself first.
Always.
And then you put your best friend second. That's how you get it.
Or like, it's like boom, boom. Because self-care is not selfish, it's essential, and it is your responsibility. Yeah. Nobody's gonna come to you, and when I coach women, that's what I say to them. Nobody's gonna come to you and say like, here's an extra 4 hours. What do you wanna do with it? No. You gotta take the time. You gotta figure it out. You make time for you, and it could be as little as 5 minutes, right? Take little mindset breaks. But you matter. Thank you for that, Joanne. So we love having you all here. We love you a lot. Love, love, love. And that is all we got. So goodbye, Facebook.
Goodbye.